going on, everybody? It's Patrick from Purple Park Studios. Today I want to show you how you can take a scene like this that doesn't look that great and turn it into a really nice render. So today we're going to talk about some things that you can do before you hit render that can just take your shot to the next level. So we're basically going to turn this shot into this shot right here, okay? And there's a bunch of things you can do to make this happen without having to go into the compositor and do a bunch of stuff. Just a couple simple things that you can do right up here in the workspace. So the very first thing, and I'm not really going to spend much time on this because I think that if you're watching this video you probably already know this, but just make sure you have ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections turned on. I mean, just make sure that you're doing that. But the thing that I really want to talk about today that could really take a photo or a render to the next level is down here. And I think that a lot of people don't use this section of Blender much, but if you go under color management, so if you go scroll down and hit color management here, it should be under filmic. That's how it should start, and it's going to be like a medium contrast, so it's going to look very bland. So by changing this view transform from filmic to standard and then playing with this, I usually like a high contrast or very high contrast. I think I went with high contrast for this one. So already right there the render's looking a bit more realistic, a bit more crispy. So that's one thing that you can do. Before I even get into this, the curves and stuff down here, there's a couple other things you can do that just will help take your render to the next level. The camera. Once you find that shot that you want and you have your camera set up, click on the camera down here and make sure you're using depth of field. So the way I'm using it here is I use this eyedropper tool and I've selected one of these objects for it to focus on, and then I play with the f-stop here, and the higher up the f-stop the clearer, and the more you bring it back the more depth of field you're going to get. The other option you have for that is you don't have to use a focus object, you can just play with the focus distance of the camera. So I usually start by turning the f-stop all the way down to 0.1 and then just play with the focus distance until you bring things in or out of focus. And then another thing that really could add a lot to your scene is I have this atmosphere here, so I'll scroll out here and I'll actually go to this mode here. So if I'm in my modeling mode and this atmosphere, it's just a big cube. It's a big cube, and if I select it and go to my shading editor, you'll see that object here, you'll see that I have a principled volume with a color ramp going into it. So if I go to layout and I go to rendered mode, if I zoom in here, you'll see that it's fog, and the fog works really nice. It's like a mist depth in the air. It creates an atmosphere, and it works really nice in Eevee. It works even better in Cycles, but it does work really good in Eevee too. So now if I go to my shot, you can see with the fog off, it looks like it still looks good, but with the fog on, it's just starting to add a little bit more like atmosphere. So it's really starting to help make this feel more real. So one of the last things I want to touch on, because I want to keep this short, is it's back down here under the render properties under color management. So we looked at the view transform and the look, we changed it to standard and high contrast. I did play a little bit with the exposure and gamma, so I would recommend maybe doing that if your shot needs it. But then if you check this use curves right there, this with the fog and the atmosphere, the depth of field, and now this color, using these curves, you can just select a spot and you can move them around and do different stuff until you get the look that you want. And it's just so fun. It really can help take your shot to the next level, and it's, you're not going to get it right the first time, but just by every time you go to render, if you start using some of this stuff, I guarantee that you're going to start noticing that you have better renders. So I hope this quick tutorial was helpful, guys. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.